What if you could watch your grandkids use the money you're leaving them instead of just hoping they use it wisely after you're gone?
This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult professionals before making legal, tax, and investment decisions. Here's something we hear all the time. My kids need money now, when they're 35, not when they're 70 and I'm gone. And they're right. And there's a way to do that. It's called gifting. And done properly, it can reduce your taxes, help your family when they actually need it, and let you see the impact while you're still here.
Today, we're going to walk you through how gifting works to family, to charities, to anyone who matters to you. And we'll clear up some common misconceptions that stop people from doing it. Let's start with the big question. Why would you give money away in the first place? Well, there could be a few reasons. First, your family might need it now. Maybe it's for a down payment on a house. Maybe it's for help with tuition. It could be a bridge during a difficult time. That money could be a lot more useful to a 35-year-old than, say, to a 70-year-old who's already established.
Second, in some states, there are tax advantages. We're in Pennsylvania, which has an inheritance tax. If you gift money more than a year before you pass, it avoids that tax entirely. Not every state has this. I think roughly 13.
I think that's right. And third, maybe the most important one is this. You get to see the impact. You get to watch your grandson graduate because you helped pay the tuition. You get to see your daughter move into the house you helped make possible. You get to enjoy the impact of your generosity while you're still here.
That's something you just can't do from a will.
Let's give you an example. I have a client. Her son lives a couple hours away in the next state, but her nephew lives nearby. And this nephew does everything for her. He drives her to appointments. He fixes things around the house. He checks on her regularly. She came to me and said, I want to give him money every year. He does so much for me each and every day that he's like a son to me. And I said, great. Just because he's not your child doesn't mean you shouldn't include him.
So gifting isn't just for kids and grandkids. It's for anyone who's important to you. And you decide what that looks like. So let's clear up some confusion about gift taxes, because this trips up people constantly.
There's a federal gift tax limit right now, and it's $19,000 a year. Now, people hear that, and they remember that number. In fact, they tend to remember the old numbers because this number's increased over time. And they say, Paul, is that the limit to what I can give? And the answer is no.
So here's how it actually works. You can give anyone any amount you want. If you give more than the $19,000 annual limit, you file a gift tax return. But you don't owe any tax. It just reduces your lifetime exemption.
And that lifetime exemption right now is $15 million. So unless you're planning to give away or leave behind more than that, there won't be a tax. You file a paperwork for the credit against the gift, and that's it.
So if you want to give your son $100,000 for a house down payment, you can. $19,000 is covered by the annual exclusion. The other $81,000 comes off your lifetime exemption. No taxes are due.
And here's another trick. If you're married, as we mentioned earlier, you both can give. So together, you could give $38,000 to your son and potentially another $38,000 to the spouse. That's $76,000 a year to one household, fully covered by the annual exclusion.
So if you're realizing there's more flexibility here than you thought, and that maybe you've been holding back for no reason, consider subscribing. We break down the strategies that most people don't hear about until it's far too late.
So let's talk about how to actually give the money, because not all gifts are created equally.
Education is one of the best ways to gift. And here's something most people don't know. If you write the check directly to the institution, there's no gift tax limit at all.
So if the tuition is $50,000, which isn't a lot in today's educational world, you could write a check for $50,000 directly to university. It doesn't count against your annual exclusion. It doesn't count against your lifetime exemption. It's completely outside the gift tax system.
The same is with medical expenses. Pay the hospital directly. It's not considered a taxable gift.
Another smart approach, helping kids with a mortgage. Instead of giving cash that might get spent on who knows what, you write a check directly to the mortgage company. It pays down the principal. The benefit shows up later when the mortgage is paid off later or when they sell the house. Now, keep in mind, if you do that, you have to notify, in a lot of cases, the mortgage company so they apply it to principal, because they might apply it to future payments, which is a strange phenomenon.
And that counts as part of the $19,000 exclusion, unlike
medical or educational.
Yeah. So it becomes a gift that isn't squandered. And for a lot of your clients, that really matters.
Okay, so let's be honest. I think, and our family thinks, there's a fine line between helping someone and spoiling them.
We see this tension a lot. Parents want to help, but they don't want to create dependency. They don't want to bail out bad decisions over and over.
So think about paying down a mortgage that feels good. I think there's a stark difference between that and paying off a credit card that's just going to get run up again. It's a completely different conversation.
And sometimes the gifts aren't voluntary. A child goes through a divorce. Suddenly they're struggling. One house becomes two houses, and the math just doesn't work anymore.
Parents, I think oftentimes feel like they have no choice but to help, and that's okay. But it needs to be part of the plan, not a surprise that derails everything else. And it's something that we see pretty often, and it can be a huge problem for someone's long-term plan because it was never planned for.
The question is always, how do you help in a way that actually helps? That's where having a personal CFO makes a difference. Here's a question I get all the time from people receiving the gifts. If my parents give me $38,000, do I have to pay taxes on it?
The answer is no. Gifts of cash are received tax-free. If you think about it, the giver already paid taxes on that money, and you don't pay income tax on money twice. It doesn't get taxed again when it changes hands.
Now, if someone gives you appreciated stock, let's say IBM shares they bought decades ago, that's different. There could be capital gain implications when you sell the stock. But for cash gifts, no tax to the recipient.
I bring this up because people worry about it. They think a gift from mom and dad is going to mess up their tax return and affect their Medicare premiums. For cash gifts, it doesn't. Let's talk about charitable giving. Our clients tend to be generous. Churches, alma maters, say the Humane Society, they want to give back to what matters to them.
And most of the time, they're planning to do it through their will. When I die, the church gets $10,000, for example.
A couple weeks ago, I had a client who said something different. She said, "Why should I wait till I die? I have the money now. I have more than I need. Why don't I give it now? I want to see how they use it." She's about to turn 70 and a half, which means she could do what's called a qualified charitable distribution from her IRA. The money goes directly to the charity. It counts toward her required minimum distribution, and she doesn't pay income tax on it. It's essentially a tax-deductible gift, even if you don't itemize.
But here's what really mattered to her. She said, I wanted to see the stained glass window. I wanted to see the pew with my name on it. I want to enjoy this now.
And that's the emotional payoff of giving while you're alive. You don't just hope it makes an impact. You get to experience the impact that it makes.
So here's the important caveat. Before you start giving money away, you need to know that you have enough.
And we tend to advise clients to gift more later in life once they're confident their own needs are covered. Because the last thing you want to do is give generously at 70 and run short at 85. And interesting story, our dad used to come in all the time and he'd say, do you think I should start gifting? Do you think I should start gifting? And I would say, being the recipient of the gift, I would say no. And what I didn't want him to do is I didn't want them to not take a trip somewhere or not do something because they didn't feel like they had enough. So gifting, like everything else, is very specific to what your own personal needs are.
10 years later, when his financial situation was more solidified, it made more sense and he completed gifts.
And we've talked about some of those gifts in other videos.
There's also a Medicaid consideration. If you need long-term care assistance down the road, there are look-back periods on gifts. Money you gave away 5 years ago could affect your eligibility.
That's why gifting needs to be planned, not just done on impulse. The right questions need to be asked. Is this the right time? Is it the right amount? What are the consequences I might not be seeing?
That's why having a personal CFO really helps. Someone who sees the whole picture, not just the gift, but how it fits into everything else.
Gifting is one of the most rewarding parts of financial planning. You get to help your family, you get to support causes you care about, and you get to see the impact while you're still here.
But there's something even more powerful than money itself. It's what comes with it, the values, the intentions, the why behind the gift.
That's what we cover in the next video, the family meeting. It's how you make sure your family doesn't just receive the money, but understands what you want them to do with it. One of the most powerful examples we've seen is a grandfather who left money to his grandkids with one instruction. This is for your Roth IRAs. It's for retirement. and nothing else. And every one of them honored it because he told them why. You can watch that video now.
So if you're thinking about gifting to a family or to charity, to anyone, and you want to make sure you're doing it the right way, we'd be happy to talk. Just click the link below to schedule a conversation.
Because at the end of the day, investing is the easy part. Sharing your wealth in a way that actually makes a difference, that's the hard part.